And it's great to have Perry Clark joining us now. Perry Clark, of course, was a fantastic coach at Tulane University over the course of a decade, and 3 NCAA tournaments, 6 NITs, winning NCAA games 3 times, and building this program from scratch. I'd like to say old friend, but I don't like the word old considering where we're at in life, right? So just a friend. And he's being honored with a richly deserved award, which is induction into the 2020 class of the All-State Sugar Bowl Greater New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame. That will happen at a date to be determined. And it's great to have the coach with us now, Perry Clark. Listen, Perry, thanks for the time. Congratulations, and really good to have you with us.
Ken, thank you very, very much for having me on. And I really want to let you know what a tremendous honor it is to go into the New Orleans, the Hall of Fame. And it's really important to me because it's about the whole city. And I thought that in my time there at Tulane, our program, we tried to reflect the spirit, the character of the city. And it's to be able to be recognized like that for what our contribution was, what my contribution was in that period is extremely important to me and will always be cherished.
I said this to you earlier today, but this is kind of the way life is. It's always after the fact or in retrospect that people tend to really appreciate what transpired previously. And not that people didn't appreciate what you did at Tulane, but in retrospect, and with all due respect, considering what has or has not happened since you left, I think people more deeply appreciate what you accomplished at Tulane.
Well, I will tell you this. I think once we got started in our ascent, I think had everybody excited, and it was just off the chart with that. And I thought, though, after people kind of got used to it, and then it became like an expectation. But, you know, through it all, it was a very magical time. And Ken, you know, I just feel like New Orleans is like home to me. I think it's just a magical city. I think the people there are very, very special. And, you know, and I've always said if you love them, care about them, and have some humanity with yourself, they will embrace you, they will support you, and they will care about everything that you do. And I think that's what, you know, the love affair with the Saints has always been about. And I think that you have certainly, you know, stepped in and has taken it to another level as far as with sports there and ingratiating it there with the people and translating what's going on. But it's just a really, really special town.
It was a special time in basketball. You took over a program that was coming off the death penalty, and it was so difficult to even fathom that Tulane could be competitive. It's not like they had any great history prior to then, despite some occasional successes. To be able to convince young men to come to school there at that time, how difficult was it, or was it easier than perhaps we thought it was?
Well, I, first of all, I always tease, and I got to take my hat off to Dr. Eamon Kelly. He was the guy, main reason that I was hired, and he might be, Ken, the smartest person I've ever met in my life. I mean, he had a way about himself of being able to understand people and break things down, and he was a tremendous influence to me when I was there at Tulane. And but it was his vision, and he let me know from the very beginning, take your time, do it right, do it with kids that can do well in the classroom and that can be a credit to the university. So it wasn't a gun to my head to win right away, and I was blessed with a great staff. You know, Ron Everhart, who's gone on to have a tremendous career. He's at West Virginia now. Todd Bozeman, who went on to be the head coach at the University of California. I mean, you know, I had a great staff to start. Jimmy Tillett, who went on to be the head coach at Samford. And so, you know, we had Billy Kennedy, who was with me for a short time, and everybody knows in New Orleans his success at A&M and everything. And so I was blessed to have some really, really fine coaches. But the biggest thing we tried to do, Ken, we didn't think we were going to go out and get the best offensive players. What we really tried to do was get the best defensive player, and that time the Metro, at every position. We got Pointer Williams, who could have been the best defensive point guard in the league. We had Kim Lewis, who could have been the best defensive two-guard in the league. Carlin Hartman was a tremendous defender at both the 3 and the 4. And Anthony Reed was, turned out to be better than, any of us ever really thought or expected. He wound up being the second all-time leading scorer when he left in the school's history. And he was a tremendous rim protector. So defensively, we were very, very strong, and we were able to play with the posse and create a different style and way to play that the fans loved. We pressured from baseline to baseline. We really got after people, and it really was just an exciting time.
Perry Clark visiting with us, 260-1061, if you'd like to join us. And the other part about it was Louisiana college basketball. That was a great time. LSU, of course, under Coach Brown was good, and we know that. And they had some elite players. Y'all Lafayette had some good players and good teams.
Oh,
Louisiana Tech was very good at that time. And then you had UNO across town when it was very good.
We had 5 teams from the state of Louisiana that all went to NCAA that year. And it was really, really good. And, Dale Brown, you can't talk about Louisiana basketball without tipping your hat to the man, because he was the guy that made it alive, made it relevant, made it important. And, we never played, but they were always there as a benchmark and what we strive to reach. And, Tim Floyd was tremendous at UNO. He pushed us in a lot of ways because he's such a great coach, and he was building a really fine program. And, people have asked me about our best wins, and I will tell you the first has to be when we beat Memphis our first year, when we only won 4 games, and one was an upset over Memphis State, who was ranked in the top 10 in the country. Our win at UNO when we went over the lakefront and beat them by like 18, 19 points over there. Our first win against Louisville ever on the road at Louisville for Tulane University. And then we beat Indiana in the Rainbow with Bobby Knight by over 18 points. And lastly, it has to be a win against Illinois State that allowed us to go to the Final Four of the NIT in New York. And, those are the ones when I'm asked about, the all wins are good, but the ones that stick in your mind, those are the ones that stick in your mind.
Yep, I remember several of those games. The game at UNO beat them by 22, actually, 83-61. I did that game, of course, for UNO. And the other game with UNO that was memorable, the overtime game at Tulane at Fulham, when you stopped their 17-game win streak. And the timeout game, listen, it didn't matter that I was calling the game for UNO. That was an awesome setting. It was an incredible game. It's like college basketball at its best. It had arrived, although sitting at the scorer's table doing the game next to the UNO bench, I don't know that I've ever had so many people come flying over me in my life. But that was a special night.
It really was a special night, and that's the one that Tim will claim we called a timeout. We didn't have one, and actually we were giving our signal for the press and everything. And the referee thought I was calling a timeout, and I said, no, that's our signal for the press. And he said, keep playing. And we wound up getting a steal on the inbounds, and David Whitmore hit a jumper to win it. So certainly that was some great memories and everything. But, Ken, I got to tell you a story, and you're going to laugh. We played Memphis State my first year, and we were just hungry for winning any way we could and everything. And I was staying in the office late and getting up early and the whole thing. So we beat Memphis State, and they were ranked like in the top 10 in the country. We go out and celebrate. Everybody's excited. I get home, I turn on the lights, and my lights are out. I forgot to pay my electricity bill. And I turned around, I get in the car, and I come back to the office, and I literally sleep at my desk on the night of our biggest win. And I said, Clark, nobody will ever believe this. And the first thing I did the next day was get somebody to pay my bills for me.
That's a great story. visiting with Coach Perry Clark. I'm still going to call you Coach, but today you announced something else pertaining to your coaching career. You've decided to retire. Talk about that, Coach.
Well, I've stepped down in coaching here at South Carolina, where I've been for the last 7 years, and retire. I'm retiring. I'm not retired, and I'm still looking to do some other things, but the timing was just right, and there's such a transition going on right now, with the virus and everything, and my stage, I just wanted to just kind of take a step back and kind of revisit and see how this thing was going to play out. And it's been a great run here. The only thing coming here that I felt like I wanted to do that I hadn't done was get to a Final Four. And we were able to do that here at South Carolina. And that was really, really exciting. And Coach Martin has been tremendous. And so I just decided to take a step back, and I retired at the end of this month. And going to hopefully spend some more time in New Orleans, and there's some other things that I really want to do. But I am in great health. I mean, I do 5 miles a day between the elliptical, walking, bicycle, and I don't jog. But I get my exercise in and everything. So I'm in good shape. But this virus is for real, and it's dangerous, especially when you get to a certain stage of life. And I'm fortunate I don't have any real complications, but I just, staying healthy is important.
You sound like me. Perry Clark with us. And, of course, the happenings of the last week or so in our country have been troubling. They've been difficult. They've been hard to imagine. But being able to see the stark reality of what transpires, I think changes the dynamic. I think it changes the narrative. I think it changes people's minds because they can see something occur that's not only tragic, but it's completely and totally inappropriate and horrible. And it is discrimination, abuse, racism at its worst. As an African American in your career, talk about what you've endured and what you've had to teach young men, and where we go from here from your perspective, because I think you have a very good one, having had so much experience.
Well, I think, first of all, back when Dr. King marched in the civil rights movement and there was tremendous change in this country, it was done because it was a lot of, culturally, it was mixed, and a lot of folks were involved in trying to do the right thing. I think what you're seeing now in a lot of the demonstrations, not in the violence, but in the demonstrations, you see is culturally mixed. And I think when you have that environment, then it's very difficult for racism, for abuses and all to flourish or to take hold, because when everybody's standing up and saying that is wrong, this is against humanity, this is not the way it's supposed to be, and fight against it, it's very hard to have some points of views and some philosophies and take some action. And I think that is what has transpired with the demonstrations over the past week. And I think that the thing that has always made this country great has been its ability to stand up when it needed to stand up for what was right, and go to any length to make sure that we adhere to certain principles. And I think that, hopefully this will be awakening and a push for that. And certainly, when I first came to Tulane, I was the first black coach at Tulane, and There was folks that were skeptical and wondered whether or not I would be successful. I used to tease Dr. Kelly. I used to tease him. I said, I know you guys figured I'd be here about a year or two, then you go out and get yourself a real coach. I just threw a monkey wrench into it, and he would laugh and everything. But I think that, I was embraced in New Orleans, and I was embraced because I think people understood my sincerity, understood what I stood for, and philosophically we were on the same page. And I just think that that's still philosophically being able to justice and everybody getting an opportunity to try to better their lives and do the best they can is still extremely important. And, I'm not Pollyanna with it. There are some pitfalls, and there's certainly some landmines that are out there. But I think that being able to stand up and talk about those in a real debate and dialogue, I think, is extremely important.
Understanding is the main thing. You haven't walked in a man's shoes. You can't possibly know what he's experienced. That's why there needs to be dialogue, and that's why we need to have ears to hear, to really listen and try to understand people. I think if people took the time to try to do that, it might erase some of the preconceived notions you have, because as flawed human beings, all of us have preconceived notions. We have to get rid of those.
I mean, you're right. We really, really do. And I'm going to tell you something. I mean, and that's one of the things, because I feel like New Orleans is home. The humanity that I felt in New Orleans was incredible. I mean, just the care that people there have for each other, especially when you struggle and when you're down or you don't quite. You've been dealt a bad hand. I used to always tease Pat Swillen and Ricky Jackson that's why people love the Saints, because they always seem like they're battling back from the bottom of the deck and everything, and that's why the city just loved them and everything, because they gave their hearts and souls and all the time, and I tried to take that same attitude at Tulane and trying to open doors. I had a very good relationship with Mark Morial, who was the mayor at the time, to open the campus, to get a lot of different events there on campus, from my basketball camp to doing some computer-type camps and things like that. And Dr. Kelly was very, very supportive of that. And, again, this award is special to me because I feel like I represented the whole city, and that's the way Tulane should be. That's what it should stand for, because it is a very, very special university, and it has so much to offer to the fabric of what New Orleans is about.
You did it brilliantly. You're getting your just due. Couldn't be happier for you. Absolute class act and a really good person. And we're kind of happy that you'll be back in New Orleans some, because we'll get a chance to see you and spend time with you again. And I know Lenny and Kenny will be happy to see you too, Perry. It's been a distinct pleasure.
Appreciate it. I deeply appreciate it. And, again, it means the world to me. And, Tulane means the world to me. And certainly the city of New Orleans is very, very special in my heart. And most people think I'm from there, which is funny, Kenny, because I feel like it, but I was actually born and raised in Washington, D.C. But whenever I come back, they say, Coach, it's nice to be home, isn't it? Coach, it's nice to be home. And I just smile and I say, yes, it
is. You're adopted. You're here forever. You always will be in the hearts of Tulane fans and people in the New Orleans area. Perry, thank you for the visit. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing that honor when it takes place. You hear?
Thank you so very, very much. Take care now.
You got it. God bless. Perry Clark.